Hi, this is Colleen McGee, welcoming you to another episode of Fort Riley, the podcast. As spring finally starts to warm up, and you and I get a chance to go outside and enjoy the beautiful scenery all around and in Fort Riley, there are a couple of things that you might want to be prepared for. Here to talk to us about fleas, ticks, and poison ivy is Mike Hauk from our environmental division. Tell me a little bit about some of these creepy crawlies that we kind of got to watch out for, how to protect ourselves and still enjoy outdoor activities.
Well, I think I'll start off with ticks, because that's probably one of the biggest concerns we have in the Fort Riley area. Being outside, enjoying the outdoors. Everybody's wanting to get out on the hiking trails, biking, and get out recreating, fishing, and whatever. And we do have a lot of ticks on Fort Riley, and there's three main species of ticks: the Lone Star tick, the American dog tick, and the black-legged tick. And all of them are vectors of some tick-borne illnesses that we have seen in the area. And probably the most common would be Rocky Mountain spotted fever. And then there are some cases of Lyme disease in the state too. But as far as prevention, one of the biggest things, of course, is avoidance when you're out and about. If you're out on trails or something, make sure you stay on the trails. The ticks are going to be in the heavy vegetation, the grass and the shrubs and the trees, and so avoiding that vegetation is critical. I do recommend, if you know you're going to be out in where there's going to be ticks, to go ahead and treat your outdoor clothes with permethrin. And that comes usually, it's in a spray form, is the most common. Spray down your clothes and then hang them up to dry. And then once they dry, they're good to go. They usually last a couple of washes too. And then any exposed skin, just a recommended repellent that usually contains DEET is good. Clothing is important. Wearing, long pants, long shirt, long sleeves, and even if you have to, tucking your pants into your boots or tucking your pants into your socks helps out. Tucking your shirt in, because when they're crawling on you, if they can find a way to your skin, they're going to get there. And then also after you've been out doors, make sure you check yourself over when you remove your clothing. If you're worried about your clothing, you could launder it in hot water, or if it's dry, you can throw it in a hot dryer, and that'll kill ticks. Also, when you're checking yourself over, you might not find the ticks right away, but try to remove them as soon as possible is the most critical part, because usually they say anywhere from if they've been on your body for attached for 24 to 48 hours, sometimes that's when disease transmission takes place. Taking them off with tweezers is the best. Just grabbing them as close to the mouth part as possible, close to your skin, and pulling straight out. Some other things you need to watch out for would be mosquitoes this time of the year. We've been dry, but now with the wet season, there's going to be a lot of water standing. It's critical to remove habitat, pet dishes, water bowls outside. Make sure you change the water out frequently. Any bird baths. And then if there's anything outside that's going to hold water, like an old tire or a bucket or something like that, make sure you remove the water so that they don't reproduce. Prevention's a little bit similar to ticks as far as treatment. Spraying your skin down with DEET helps keep them off, but also limiting your activity during the times when the mosquitoes going to be out. Mainly from dusk to dawn. Long sleeve shirt, pants, and a little bit different than the ticks. Ticks usually you'd want the tighter clothes is better for ticks. Keep them from finding places to get in. With mosquitoes, it's better to have loose fitting clothing. That way, when they're trying to bite through the clothing, they can't get to your skin. Another thing, when you're out in the woods, be on the lookout for poison ivy. That's a big issue out here on Fort Riley. We have a lot of it just about everywhere. any of your trails, park areas, and even in some of the yards around the housing areas, you're going to run into poison ivy. Main thing there, protection, wearing long clothing there too, or if you've touched some exposed skin, make sure you wash those areas with just cold soap and water helps. There are a lot of products out there you can pick up at the stores as far as lotions that help remove that resin that gets on your body. Poison ivy also comes in 3 forms on Fort Riley. You have a shrub form that can grow up to 6 feet tall. Most that we see is the small shrubs that more of the ground crawling shrubs that we see down in the woodland areas. And then also we have a lot of vines that grow up the trees, and they have aerial roots. So if you see a vine going up a tree and it looks like it has little hairs on it, those are the aerial roots, and that's normally poison ivy. And you can get that resin off any part of that plant that would cause the dermatitis that causes the blistering and itching. A lot of people, we get a lot of reports about people out seeing snakes out and about when they're out fishing around some of the lakes and ponds, and we have a lot of varieties of snakes on the installation. In fact, there's 25 species of snakes that are possible on Fort Riley, but normally there's only one venomous snake that would be common on Fort Riley, and that's the copperhead. And I'm always telling people to beware of your surroundings when you're out, especially in the copperheads, like rocky areas and woodland areas too. So when you're out if you're around the rocky areas, just be aware of your surroundings. Make sure that you can see them. Where also clothing's important too. Wearing a high top boot or a heavy boot or something while you're out hiking around in some of those areas would be critical.
Now, do you guys happen to have some sort of plant and creature identification guide or anything like that available?
We did have a field pocket guide available, but we're running out of short supply until we get more ordered. we're kind of limited, but you can see this information on our fortriley.isportsman.net website. If you go there, that's our recreation website, and if you go in, there's a information tab there, and you can actually see there's Fort Riley hazardous plants and animals, and you can get that information on the website there.
And I know it sounds, because we're talking about them, like there's lots of things and you have to be like so super careful. But really, with just a little bit of sanity and precaution, you can still go out and have a great time out in our recreational areas.
Oh yes, yeah. It's very uncommon to, of course the ticks and the mosquitoes are always going to be there. They're usually there in the right situations, and the poison ivy. It's just taking precautions. If you're staying on the trails and enjoying and staying in some of the maintained areas, you're not going to have any issues at all. Other just common sense stuff with even with like some of the animals this time of the year. We have a lot of animals are starting to have babies, and we'll see young animals out, and just people leaving those alone. Just view them from a distance. If they're sick or injured animals, make sure that people aren't trying to handle them or trying to capture them. That they're if they could get a hold of a professional to come if they need to be moved or removed. Normally, they could contact the game wardens section. They can contact our office, or they could. We also have a USDA biologist that's a pest controller, and he handles a lot of those situations with animals. Your schedule, that the summer safety event coming up here.
Yes.
On the 25th, 26th, and we'll be out with with information on hazardous plants and animals during those 2 days.
Great. And that
We'll
is
have
going to
a
be
look.
at the PX and at Irwin Army Community Hospital, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you for listening to Fort Riley, the podcast. We hope you get outside and enjoy this weather.